Okay, so Graham, do you want to just introduce yourself just a little bit with your SEO background first?
Oh,
Where
where
you
do I
first heard
start?
about it? Yeah.
Okay, so I started SEO back in kind of around 2014. I was at college at the time. Me and a few mates couldn't get experience and we're studying marketing at the time, couldn't get experience in marketing. So we set up a wee company. No, it was a bit of a joke really when I look back at it, but we were offering free marketing services to charities and bands in Glasgow. Logo design, leaflet, flyer design, wee things like that. Manage your Facebook page, all free of charge for small charities, nothing big, and then sort of bands that were looking to get their name out there. Learned a ton of ways to how to not do marketing. Off the back of that, I ended up getting an internship with an agency over in Loch Winnock. If anyone doesn't know where Loch Winnock is, it's a tiny little village just outside of Glasgow. It used to take me like an hour and a half to get there in the morning in my wee car. And yeah, they were a digital marketing agency, did everything: web design, Facebook, Google Ads. Me as the intern, I came in, and back then, rightly or wrongly, SEO was still submitting directories and messing around with every title tag you could find, very basic stuff. And I don't know if it's where I kind of how if it's kind of the time I've been in the industry. I find SEO is a lot more exciting now. Like there's a lot of people wanting to get into SEO. But I remember when I started out, it was almost like the rubbish job. Like nobody wanted to kind of sit there and optimize an e-commerce site with like 10,000 products. So I was in that agency for about a year and a half. My internship became a full-time job. The owners, it was Harry and Jill. They were married, lovely people to work with. They started giving me sort of more responsibilities, a wee bit more freedom with what I could actually test. And from that, like I was doing my own research and at the same time testing my own things. And yeah, started to rank websites. Then I started picking up a few sort of freelance jobs. I say a few. I think I only had one freelance client at that point. And then I moved over to France to study. I was still at university at the time, and yeah, my career kind of stopped. I'll speed this up a little bit. I came back from France, landed a good client, and I kind of realised that I didn't have enough time to do uni, and sort of they weren't paying me that much. And I just had a conversation with the director. I was like, look, I don't have time to grow the freelance thing, find clients, keep my own knowledge up and do all my uni work. Do you want to just give me a full-time job? And turned around and said yes. So I spent the next 2 years this was in my final year at uni. So I spent like the last 6 months of my final year at uni, and then the first year and a half of my post-uni life, working, kind of sharing a desk with this chartered accountant that was running this really, it was growing really fast. And I always think I've learned a lot about SEO over the years, but she's sharing a desk with this guy's named Gareth. He just taught me so much about, it's not really stuff you need to know as an SEO, but like ordering from suppliers and all this like really sort of nitty gritty business stuff. And I don't know, that it was really valuable time.
He almost
Um,
like a mentor to you at that point.
oh, very much so. Really, I was kind of just there to do SEO, but he showed me
Core
like
business
just
skills.
so much stuff. It was probably it wasn't the best paying job, but see in terms of like value and like impact that's had, it was really good for me. I then took a job in an agency in Glasgow. built up the SEO, and there the owner then went for a pretty successful exit. I then moved over to BIP Solutions, big technology company in Glasgow, and started building up their search team. All the while, I'd been building up kind of a few freelance gigs. It was quite kind of word of mouth driven, and cheap SEO to an extent, where I was more just kind of helping people out and getting a wee bit of money. It was all kind of monthly recurring stuff. But going into 2020, I was like, right, I've got naively so at the time, but I've got the experience. I've got 6 years experience under my belt. I'm starting to build. I've got enough kind of revenue coming through my freelance stuff to maybe invest that into a website and my own marketing. And I think I could really sort of give this a really, really solid go. So 2020, I started actively trying to build the agency. I rebranded from GMS Digital. Don't ask me where that name came from. GMS Digital to A1 SEO Glasgow, kind of a bit of a exact match or partial match brand name for my local search terms. And started to do. I did a lot of cold calling back then, which I always think a lot of especially agency and service providers, they don't really want to do cold calling, but that was really, really good for me, actually getting chatting to people without having to have a big budget. And then in sort of November just last year, I'd built it up to a level where I could pay myself a full-time salary, and just bit the bullet, handed in my notice. I had to work a 3 months notice at the time, and that's me. I've been building A1 SEO up for the last year. I've now got a team of 8, working with some I say big clients. They're big for where we are in Glasgow. It's quite a small city, but we've got some really, really, really good clients, and all brilliant to work with. What more can you ask for? So I mean, that's kind of my background, how I got into SEO, and how I got to where I am just now. Obviously still quite early on in the grand scheme of things.
Wow. So I think it's clear why A1's doing so well. I mean, that's a good 7-8 years you've been hustling, doing freelance gigs, traveling the world. I mean, what you said, you went to France, so you're going to pick up a lot of good social skills from that as well. To literally working a full-time job and freelance gigs on the side. And I know about some of your projects because I've done some of the content, but when the one that I've done, I don't know if you can say it, but the one that I've worked on, when did you start that?
You can say the one that you're working on. It's my affiliate website. It's not a client one. I mean, I'm happy to talk about that if you're.
So My Voyage Scotland then. So that's one of your projects. So when did that start?
So that started in September 2019. It's essentially it's more. I wanted to try just building my own site and ranking it. And I mean, if there's, I sometimes get folk asking me like, look, I want to learn more about SEO. Where would you start? And I'm like, well, the obvious one, you can freelance, but most of the time you've got the client, they want X, Y, Z done. They want to rank for this. So and so says the content has to be this way. Whereas if you start your own sort of affiliate website, I've learned more on my own affiliate website running that for 2 years than I did maybe 6 years working in-house. Like when it's your own project, your own baby, it's like you put, it's hard to explain, but My Voyage Scotland, that's my little travel blog. I basically wanted to just rank for all these local terms, have a bit of a playground for me to experiment some strategies that I'd wanted to try out. And obviously I had these grand, I'm sure everyone in affiliate marketing starts out with, yeah, I want a website, it's going to be making me 20 grand a month and I'm going to sit on a beach and do absolutely nothing. But I mean, it doesn't work like that, or at least for me. It doesn't. I'm maybe not as skilled on SEO as yourself, Craig, but
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
it's more for me, that wee project. It's more about experimenting with different ways of doing SEO, and I built that website because I think that's a niche I could really sort of build really strong link building campaigns, like just off the back of really sort of traditional SEO strategies like skyscraper outreach. Super simple. Sometimes very difficult to do for if you're working in like B2B or e-commerce. I mean, it can be difficult to do that sort of outreach. And I just wanted my own sort of playground to actually work on that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the site, you picked a good site, I think, as well, with the pandemic. I mean, how did it do in the pandemic when no one could travel abroad? They could all travel local. Was it a success? Was it good?
Well, it was a bit of a funny one, because we launched the site in September, September 2019. And the site, I remember like looking at it in analytics, and I think anyone who started a new website from scratch, you'll look at your website, you'll look at Google Analytics every day, and it'll say, right, I'm getting like 1, 2, 3 visitors a day. And the site really started to take off. When I say really started to take off, I mean, I think it was getting like 100 hits like a day or something. And that's not really but that's when the site started to kind of get traction. Google started to notice the website. And yeah, started to see big jumps in traffic relative. And then lockdown came and nobody could travel, and nobody was leaving their street pretty much. So the traffic just nosedived. So the rankings were going up for that website. I was still working on it. The rankings were going up, but I mean, you can look at the actual individual rankings, and you can look at things like share of the voice or the Ahrefs, organic traffic. It's all like estimation tools. I had no real way to gauge how the site was doing. I mean, yeah, rankings are going up, but I always go by traffic or revenue if you've actually got it. Then when we started to sort of come out of lockdown, I can't remember if that was maybe July, August, maybe even
Running into
June.
one, isn't it?
One of those months in the summer. Literally, I remember them announcing that like Airbnbs could open up, and our traffic just like exploded, and the site started doing like good, not sort of big 5-6 figures, but it started to actually pay me. Like that was, I'm sure anyone that's ever done affiliate marketing, like see when that website that you built up from scratch, it's just content sitting there, and you check your affiliate dashboards and you actually see like there's money in that account. Like that was the site makes nowhere near what my agency side, the agency side of what I do brings in, but see the affiliate revenue, it's like the most valuable revenue there, because it's just, I think it's,
your little baby.
It's just content sitting there, and you're making money off it. But yeah, that's my Voyage Scotland. I did quite well summer last year, and then this summer, and then it's now starting to kind of die down, going into the colder months, and it's a fun project to work on that.
So tell me this, right? One big thing that new SEOs or maybe new affiliates have is maybe scared to put their money where their mouth is. They're scared to spend so much money on backlinks content because it's expensive. It costs a lot of money, and people also choose the wrong niche quite a lot of the time. So they go into a market that's too big for them, they lose their money, and then they don't do it anymore, or they just burn out because it takes so long. So you're building this site, not only, was this your first affiliate site?
Yeah, that's my first affiliate site.
So it's your first affiliate site. You also built it during a lockdown where people weren't actually, well, they couldn't use it, and you kept building it. So what was that? Did you just have complete faith in the niche, complete faith in your abilities? Did you have a exit plan? Like, what was it?
Well, my whole thing with My Voyage Scotland is, I mean, I've got a long-term plan for that website, but it's, I know you always kind of hear like, what are your hobbies and your passions, and everyone's like, oh, it's traveling. But like for me, like in my family, we all of our holidays are like, we always went. We had this caravan that we attached to the back of the car, and we'd travel up and down Scotland. And my dad's like a walking tour guide for anywhere in Scotland, and it's just for me, it's like all of the kind of, or most of the kind of happiest memories are always been like being up in the Highlands in Scotland. I'm a big hill walker, and I like doing the research behind it and finding all these wee places, because then me and my fiance Heather, we'll go to these places, and we'll stay, and we'll go off all my research and go to all these places, and then I'll improve the guides. So
Yeah.
there was kind of two things at play here. One, what I wanted to do with the website is essentially just have like a playground for my own learning, really. And it was more like a project or an experiment rather than anything that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did have my naivety at the start where I was like, yeah, I could be one of these travel bloggers and sit on the beach all day. But at the same time, I really enjoyed writing it and learning about all these cool wee places. And then, I don't know, it's just, I always think SEO is so much more easier when you've got, I mean, it's all getting the right people and all that, but see when you actually like the niche, especially for your affiliate sites, if you like the niche, then your affiliate site, my affiliate site, My Voyage, it's a hobby for me, that brings in a little bit of money, and I'd do it if it wasn't bringing in money. On the flip side, after I started to get a little bit of traction with My Voyage Scotland, I actually bought, it was $500. I bought an affiliate website, and find that like $500. It's not a lot of money in the sort of grand scale of things for what people are buying and selling sites for. But I was like, right, it's an age domain. It's got good content on there. We've already found the affiliates there all in place. The problem is this guy just doesn't have time for it. I've had success here. I can have replicable success here. But see, when it was for the finance niche, I was like, right, there's going to be big affiliate commissions in there, and you're going to be able to go in there and you're going to be able to make a lot of money the same way that you've made for that site. But see, when push came to shove with that, I've still got it. And to this day, I've not published or edited a single piece of content because I just find it so boring. Like there's maybe going to be like 12, 18 months of solid graft in that. And it's just not fun. I don't enjoy that niche. So I guess if you were going back to your sort of question, a lot of people choose the wrong niche. That's an example. I chose a niche that I just was not interested in the slightest. I would definitely say that if you look at the flip side, My Voyage Scotland, not the best side, but it's doing quite well. It makes money. It brings me a lot of enjoyment working on that website. I'd always say, it sounds cliche, like do something that you're passionate about, but find what you actually like doing. And it doesn't have to be, it's always good niching down, but I mean, my niche is travel. That's a pretty top level niche, but travel in Scotland, it works for me, and it means that was what took me from being in lockdown, building the website, and not having any money coming in. I think that would be the point of failure for a lot of people, where a lot of people would drop off. But because I actually enjoyed working on that site, I kept going at it. And that's what, with SEO, you can never kind of see that moment where all your rankings start to get a big uplift, the money starts coming in. And I think so many people just quit SEO like that that maybe like a month or 2 months like too early. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that capitalize on that too. They'll pick up these sites. Like I know someone in particular who literally starts a campaign or project, gets it going, moves on to the next one, moves on to the next one. And that was me. That was me for so long. And it's funny though, because like my advice to someone new would be, yeah, go and build a site in a niche that you do find enjoyment in, but only to like get experience and learn and kind of prove you can do what you can do. But I wouldn't recommend it to make money. And when I first built my first site to make money, the very first one I did was about walkie-talkies, and I'm not passionate about that at all. And in fact, I wrote the first like 80,000 words myself, and it was painstakingly boring. It was about walkie-talkies. It just was not fun at all. But we got a nice flip for the investment I put in. So I think there's two ways of looking at it. I think for someone new to SEO, I really like what you've done with My Voyage Scotland. And I like how you've stuck by it. And I think that's why you will see big success in it, because it doesn't sound like you're going to stop. And you do keep building away at it. And the site is going to grow. And I think if anyone sticks at a project for long enough, providing it's got the right signs of growth, then yeah, you'll have success. But okay, so tell me this: why have you ever had the, I don't know, what's the word, shiny object syndrome, where you stump because you're an SEO, you work in agencies, you must, like me back in the day, I would see opportunities left, right, and centre, and that was a massive curse. That stopped my growth for so long.
I do get yes and no. I do get the shiny object syndrome, but I'm very, very good at self-restraint, and I'm also not, like, just personally, I'm not a massive risk taker. I mean, I built my freelancing stuff, or my agency, as I was trying to turn it into. I basically built my freelancing stuff up and had enough savings in the bank. I mean, I think we had enough saving, or I had enough savings in the bank to pay myself for 18 months before I went fully sort of self-employed. I'm not a big risk taker. So yes, I've had shiny object syndrome. Classic example, that finance affiliate website about
Yeah.
a $500 lesson to, yeah, not do too many things. In terms of my early career, I'd say, yeah. I mean, I had 4 jobs in about 5 years, which that does kind of sound like shiny object syndrome. But I mean, in digital marketing, like, especially when you're working at an agency level where the pay's crap, there's high staff turnover anyway, and in digital, I mean, a lot of the times, I mean, me and my business, it's one thing that I've realized, like, we hire very, very, very slowly, and we promote very, 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 very fast. I mean, it's the only way to really keep digital talent just now. But when I was going through the sort of agencies, bouncing in agencies, in-house roles, a lot of the time, the only way to sort of move up is to move to another company. And I certainly found that in the agency side of things, where I was managing, like, when I was working for an agency, I was managing like 20 clients, and my growth stopped. I became essentially a glorified account manager that knew a little bit about SEO, and just managing all these clients. I wasn't developing. So I think shiny object syndrome in digital marketing is good when you're early on. In digital marketing, when you're early on, you want to try a lot of things. You want to fail really, really fast at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Move on to the next thing, dust yourself off. But when it comes to actually your money and where you put your money in, that's when you need, I think digital marketers, we do have that shiny object syndrome. But when it comes into your money, and more importantly, your time, there's a difference between working for an employer and actually putting your blood, sweat, and tears to build an affiliate site or something similar. Especially in SEO. I mean, the results compound, you do have a sort of delayed gratification in SEO where a lot of the time, especially on newer websites, you are going to have to put in the graft and wait maybe 6, 9, however long months to actually see that return back for your graft. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I mean, I've struggled with it on new websites and in-house roles where you're working away at this and you're not seeing the needle move. But then I think that does kind of come from experience. I mean, you work in SEO long enough, you do tend to realize that, yeah, you have to be changing your strategies. But if you work at SEO long enough on one website, you will eventually see the sort of compound growth of the changes that you're making on that site.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think as well, like, I mean, I've got one site that we spent so much time on. We bought it, it was expired domain, well, not expired domain, auction domain. We put all the work into it, nothing for 3 months. And I was like, shit, this website's blacklisted. It's not going to rank. I've just spent $3,000 on a new domain. What have I done? And I did get panicky towards the end. I got panicky. And then one day, we've seen the rankings come, and then literally 2 months later, it's sitting at like 8,000 clicks a month, and it started to go up and go up and go up. And I'm like, thank God. So I think you just need to kind of sit tight sometimes. Like the algorithm can be a bit bouncy, well, a lot. So yeah, you just need to stick to the plan and see it through. What do you think is the hardest thing about you? What have you found the hardest growing A1? So the scariest moment, maybe.
Scariest moment? I don't know. See, because I'm like so much of a boring, risk-adverse person, we've not really had that many scary moments. I don't know what would be the hardest part? We've definitely had a really hard periods. But
do you think the pandemic helped you or slowed you down?
100%.
I think it helped me.
I know that it's a shame in a way because I know there's a lot of agencies that suffered, a lot of SEOs, a lot of people in the world that suffered during this. It's a really crappy time, but I think for myself and a lot of companies like mine, the pandemic was really helped us as people moved online. I mean, we had clients that had their best ever year in turnover, and we can literally put that down to the fact that they invested in their website. The shop next door to them is closed. They didn't have a website. They might have tried to build one during the pandemic where the market's starting to really oversaturate. Pandemic definitely helped us. I'm trying to think what we struggled with. I mean, hiring people, like the biggest thing I really struggled with was probably my own mindset around hiring. I mean, I've always been of the kind of mindset you want to keep expenses as low as possible. You want to be as kind of flexible with your finances as possible. So when it came for me to hiring, it was, I really kind of struggled with that. I was, I'm not paying someone X amount a month. I mean, that's too much money. I can do all that myself. And yeah, the reality is, if you want to grow a business, you are eventually, if you want to keep on growing, don't get me wrong, like there is a lifestyle where you can have 5 SEO clients and deliver really good work, do it all yourself, and have a really good life. But I just think the only way you can really scale is by getting better at what you do. That's going to take, I mean, once you hit a certain ceiling, it's going to be a lot harder to actually demand more money. And I mean, I just think it's, if you've got people like we did at A1 SEO, we had people chapping on our doors saying, we want you to do our SEO. Can you do this? And I was like, no, I don't have the time to do this. And on the one hand, like our profit margins were insane. Everything was monthly recurring revenue. But on the other hand, I was like, oh, you don't want the risk. Staff are a big risk. A lot of responsibility there. And it was that getting out of that mindset of staff as expenses rather than staff as a key investment in your business that you need to be able to grow that out. That was a difficult. I know it sounds daft talking about that, but that
It's a scary move.
2 months just sitting thinking about all that. So I struggled with breaking my own mindset around that.
How many employees do you have now?
8.
And what was okay? So when you hired your first one, then how did that go? Obviously, it was quite scary for you to do. How did you pick the right one? What did you see in them that made you choose them?
So my first staff member, Macy, she joined us. She actually joined us before. I hired my first member of staff, and then me and Macy worked together really, really well for 6 months, and then it came to the point where I was like, right, I need to actually seriously invest in Macy. Macy's brilliant. She joined us with zero experience, and she's just absolutely flying just now. But when I had to come to right, I need to invest with people that have the right skill set. They can come in, hit the ground running. That was when I had that kind of, I need to stop for a moment here. But my first hire, my view around SEO is I'm process daft. Everything I do has a sort of SOP. They're flexible, but I'm of the opinion that you take a copywriter and I'll be able to show them how to optimize content for SEO. All that stuff's in place. You take a developer, I'll show them how to audit a website for all the things that we are looking for in our technical audits. Bonus, a developer, they can actually sit and fix the problems. And then when you get into things like link building, I mean, it does to a certain extent become a numbers game. How many emails are you sending? Are you hitting the right metrics for the sites that you're actually getting these links for? Are they rubbish sites? All that stuff can be taught. So I'm a big believer in hiring people for the soft skills. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you're hiring a developer, they are going to need to have development experience. Same with copywriters, but I would take someone maybe a year for the exact same role. I'd maybe take someone with far less experience, but they seem like someone that you could get along with, someone that's keen to learn, over someone with like 15 years experience. They're going to come in, and you'd be surprised about the amount of people that have experience I've worked with that, yeah, they've been in the game for years and years and years, but they're pointing like GSA links to clients' websites and stuff like that. Like I don't really like working with the sort of SEOs with the experience, but you'll know this yourself. You get a lot of arrogance in the SEO community, and as soon as I spot that, they might have amazing case studies, they might be amazing at SEO, but as soon as I kind of spot that's arrogance, I'm like, no, you're probably not gonna fit in here. So I definitely go for the soft skills. The rest can be taught. It's key that you're going to build someone, that you're going to hire someone that's going to be able to fit in with your culture. They're going to bounce off the rest of the team well. And yeah, that's what I look for when I'm hiring someone.
No, I agree with that. I think soft skills are so important. It's definitely an interesting industry to hire in, and it can be intense, especially in an agency. It's fast paced, lots of clients, lots of different things that are moving, and then yeah, there's a lot of communication involved as well. So yeah, I completely agree. Soft skills are really important. But let's say you get someone who's amazing, really good to chat to. They've got drive. They want to learn. How are you teaching them? So you've got your processes set out, but are there other resources? Do you have them working on My Voyage Scotland, stuff like that, or have you got all this done
So
in-house?
we're actually trialing something just now. 2 o'clock every Friday. Every member of my team downs tools, and for the next 3 hours, paid by the company, they're just sitting learning. So
Okay,
we're trialing
interesting.
that. The team seem to be liking it. What I've noticed is, and that this is a kind of, for me, this is a key success indicator, is I'll be doing something and the team will turn around and say, I was reading, I think we should be doing this way. And that's the moment where I'm like, yeah, that's working. The guys are learning, and
Yeah,
I've worked very hard to build a sort of a company where, yeah, it's my name on the door and it's me. The clients have the relationship, but it's like my guys are pretty comfortable coming to me and say, Graham, I think you're being an idiot. I think we should do it this way. And yeah, we've some of our best, our most successful processes and the way we do things, campaigns that we've ran, have came from people in my company turning around to me and saying, Graham, essentially you're wrong. We should be doing it this way. Not in as abrupt a way as that, but that's. I mean,
I get it.
we've got our processes. They're really really big. They're really good for getting people in the door. And you know yourself, you start a new job at an agency, especially, you are flung in at the deep end. And I've been there before, like, oh my God, what the hell does this all mean? What am I even meant to be doing here? And a lot of the times, a lot of these agencies, they are sink and swim, which is horrible for people coming into the industry. For people come into A1 SEO, their first day, it's all setting up their accounts, checklists, basic, I know, but effective. And cool, you are part of our content team. Here is a list of SOPs. Take the next 2 weeks and learn these. And then when you come back to doing this task for the first time, read it over again. We've got all of our, so we use Notion for our SOPs. We've got Notion tied up with Trello, and I know you hate Trello, Craig, but for us, because we are client facing, the clients can work Trello. It's really, really simple. But we've got all of our cards in Trello. There's a Notion guide, and just, it's beautiful. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. There's never that horrible moment for members of staff where they're not quite sure of how to do something. I'm saying that there is a few moments like that where people don't know what that means or what this means, but the whole thing around training is we work really, really hard to build a culture where, yeah, you can ask questions without feeling stupid, and you can, I mean, guys can grab me on Slack, and yeah, so our learning's all around. Take your Friday, learn. You've got the support and the processes, and you can ask the team, and that's where I've had arrogant SEOs, and it's kind of, someone asks a question, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you don't know that. And that mentality, that sort of, that arrogance and that's apparent in some SEO professionals, it's toxic to cultures that I'm trying to kind of build within my organization, where, look, we've got guys that are good at content, guys that are good at technical, guys that are good at link building, and between all of us, like, there are areas where we're able to bounce off each other. And
Cool.
yeah, so
I get it. I think the training thing, something that I used to put a lot of time into learning. And when I started, I was doing like a book a week, and over summer just completely stopped. And getting back into just now, James Gregory introduced me to something called Obsidian, which is like a, do you know what? I'll butcher it even trying to explain what it is, but look into Obsidian. It's basically a note-taking app, and it lets you connect all your notes, so you can see the relations between stuff. And that's just got me hyped up. So I'm gonna get like a Kindle, back on Audible. I'm getting back into learning, man, and I think Obsidian will 10x that. But I like it. There's something as well though, like the fact you have your guys doing that, it's just going to compound your business. It just get better. You get clients better results, and yeah, you'll just keep growing. But let's go back to soft skills. I'm curious, right? So you've been in it for a while now. I mean, what, you've had freelancing clients for 7 years. How did you get your first freelancing client?
My first freelancing client was a referral from a web designer that I worked with in my first ever job, and we've still got that client today.
This is my next question. So how many of the old school freelance clients, because what you've done, I think, is really smart. You've basically been building up your freelance career over God knows how many years, 6, 7 years. You've then turned it into an agency, which is pretty safe because you've got these clients. You also had a bank to float yourself if it did go wrong. And you've had, I know how successful you've been this year. It's been a really successful year. And that's how you should build an agency. And when I first started, when I first went freelance, it failed completely. I burnt through 6 months of cash that I had saved up because I just lacked the social skills as well. So you got the referrals, but how did you go and acquire new clients, and how did you, because you must have had good social skills, you must have been networking. You said, you mentioned you were phoning people up and calling over the phone. How did you get the clients?
How did I get the clients? So there was, referrals have always been good for me. The thing with the referrals is a lot of people in Glasgow, like I'm talking about other agency owners, web designers, social media people, they'll pass me the referrals because I will look at a website and I know a lot of my competitors will take any client and just build them. And yeah, keep that client on for 6 months, and then yeah, cool, that'll be them. They won't get anything, but we are 6 months of SEO fees up. Whereas I would say about 90 to 95% of the leads we get in as a business, we're maybe turning around and saying, look, SEO, maybe not as high as 95, but a good chunk, the majority of our leads we're getting in, I'm turning around and I'm saying, look, you don't want to do SEO for your business. Like, either your site's too young, your niches, there's not a lot of people searching for your product, their minimum fee, you're not going to be able to get ROI at that level. Take that budget and put it somewhere else, and I'll have those conversations. So I mean, we got a lot of referrals from people because I think people trusted me to kind of just look after the client and not take the client's money just for the sake of growth. So we did get a lot of referrals, especially, I mean, social media. I always say, if SEO isn't right for a client, the number one reason why SEO isn't going to be right for a client is they're too niche. There's not enough awareness around their product. You can't rank for something that people aren't searching for. I mean, yes, you can go down a more of an informational route, but a lot of businesses don't have that budget to kind of go into content production and building up all the big time authority to rank for like local keywords that are super niche or get informational customers in at a geographical level. So I always say, right, you've got no awareness in your product. Best place, or one of the best places, it's not that good just now, but Facebook, I mean, you can get impressions, you can build a funnel in Facebook, and you can really make budgets sort of work there. So yeah, we got a lot of referrals because I think a lot of people trusted me to actually just keep the clients right. Referrals were big for us. We
What about
started
LinkedIn?
ranking quite well for some keywords, some local keywords. And I mean, it's always good. Local client in Glasgow, you're pitching to them. Yep, by the way, we rank #1 for SEO Glasgow. So if you're talking to any of the competitors, we are sitting here. And another huge one for me was Facebook advertising for my own business. I mean, we just put up an ad, targeted business owners and Facebook page admins. Interestingly enough, Facebook page admins convert. There's just more of them, or they're more likely to convert at a much cheaper cost per lead than actual business owners. I always thought that was quite funny. And yeah, the Facebook ads that we were running for the agency have been really successful. So yeah, that's how the early days we were getting, everything we were doing was referral. Then I invested into my own website, my own SEO, my own marketing. That's when we started to get a constant sort of stream of sort of high quality leads coming to us every month.
Fair enough. What about LinkedIn then? So I see you on LinkedIn quite a bit just now. What's going on with that?
So LinkedIn, I mean, I just post random stuff quite a lot of the time. I don't really have a real strategy in LinkedIn. If I'm being honest with you, I kind of just share random stuff. But what I have seen is I'll post something daft and folk will start coming into my inbox. It puts me at the top of people's minds. I don't really know what's happening on LinkedIn. I don't understand the platform too well, but I've maybe post 2-3 times a week. I've been doing that for a year. I've been posting for the last 7 years, and I get personally good exposure on LinkedIn. But don't ask me what I do, because it is honestly 100% just random.
Fair enough. That's pretty much my approach with Twitter, and I'm the exact same. I think people want to. Yeah, I don't know. With me on Twitter, I just kind of post my life, a little bit of what we're doing in the company, anything I've learned, and people just see you as a real person and they buy into you, and that's what sells. So yeah, LinkedIn. I'm working on LinkedIn just now, starting to understand the algorithm a bit. I noticed that polls are going absolutely wild just now. Seems that the algorithm favors them a lot more. So you're seeing some absolutely daft polls pop up left, right, and centre with 18,000 likes in them, and it's literally because the algorithm is favoritizing the engagement on them. So try a poll, make it lucky, make it viral.
Or home or both.
Are you done one already? Oh, it's stuff like that. It's in my head. And yeah, exactly.
I did a poll, but out of genuine curiosity, I did a poll maybe about 6 months. It was, what would you prefer, a proposal to be sent in, a PowerPoint or a PDF? Because I was having a guy actually looking at professionally doing my proposals, and he was like, no, you want to go with a slide deck. I was like, I don't like slide shows or slide decks or present. I can't remember the name of the one that you click the button and it all moves about. That's going to annoy me.
PowerPoint.
I was like, see if I wanted to buy something and someone sent me a PowerPoint, I'd be like, what is this? Because I've always sent like pretty old school. They look good, but they're pretty old school proposals. Like, here's the background. Here's what we're going to do. Here's why we're going to do this, and here's the price. So I did a wee poll, and it was pretty much unanimous. It was a Word document. It was quite interesting because a lot of bigger companies went for a slideshow. I remember that was like one of the sort of wee nuggets of information I pulled out from that.
I would send a slideshow for one.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd send one, but I think that's just because the company I worked at previously done it. But yeah, it's so random. It really is random. The poll thing's funny though. What would your advice be then? Someone that's coming into SEO or they're trying to maybe grow in SEO, what would your advice be for them?
My advice to anyone coming into SEO would be always take anyone's advice with a pinch of salt. I know that's but I always feel like with SEO, there's never a kind of right or wrong. I mean, there's right or wrong answers to some things, but I'd always do your own research. Say anyone coming into SEO, start up your own website, start playing about with things, start testing things. But I don't know. If anyone coming into SEO, just learn everything you can.
Is there anyone you would recommend they follow or watch?
Oh yeah, there's loads of people that I follow. I love Craig Campbell's stuff. His stuff's just brilliant. Says it exactly how it is. And then I like who do I like? There's a guy, Daniel Carter, on LinkedIn. He always shares really interesting stuff. Yourself, obviously.
Thanks, man.
I like Mark Cook's SEO, unsolicited SEO tips. They're always quite good. But there's tons of people in the industry. I always get a lot of value out of the SEO, our SEO subreddit as well. I've actually got notifications.
Are you on that?
Stuff comes up on it. I'm like, oh, that's quite interesting. And you always it's always the perfect meme for the SEO industry. Anything on that subreddit, there'll be like 50 people saying this and 50 people saying the exact opposite thing. It's quite
yeah, I quit that Reddit a long time ago. It can get quite draining sometimes, I think, but yeah. Okay, sweet. Anything else you want to add, and we'll wrap it up. It's been a really good podcast. I think you've, especially people that maybe want to grow and go freelance, I think you've definitely added a lot of value. I know if I was going freelance and trying to grow in the industry, I would have gained something from this. So, any last points you want to make, or?
No, just thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to see all these going live, because I know you've had some really, or you've had and are having some really good guests coming on the show.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how everyone's like, most people, like, I mean, you had a marketing degree, so you came from marketing anyway, but some people are so random, they've just fallen into this. Well, one last question on that. Do you think the marketing degree helped? Did you take a lot from it?
Not at all.
No?
No, I did 2 years at college. I did a HNC, then a HND. So yeah, it's kind of like the first 2 years of university. In Scotland, we do 4 years of university to get the degree, or the standard degree. College, I loved college. I got so much value from it. College was very much, here's how to do X, Y, Z, and here's why doing X, Y, Z is important. I did 2 years at college, then I moved on to university and did 2 years. University was the biggest waste of my life. It was, so where college was, here's what to do, here's why to do it. Uni was, here's what so-and-so says you should do, and here's what here's how so-and-so says you should do it. However, so-and-so says you should do it this way, and so-and-so says you shouldn't actually do that, you should do this. And I just remember, like, who cares? Like, this is not practical in the slightest. I'd say, like, I don't know, I'm quite, from someone who's kind of been to university, I personally think that over the next 10, 15 years, when you take into, and I'm going a wee bit off topic from SEO, but I think when you look at, I think a lot of things are about to change with I mean, people are using automation more and more every day. a lot of jobs, even in digital marketing, I think are going to be. There's going to be a lot of people needing to sort of retrain. I think university pay. I mean, we're lucky up in Scotland; it's free, but other places in the world pay $9.5 grand a year and
Expensive.
3 years of your life to get a bit of paper. Where you look at, I mean, sites like Udemy's probably not the best, but you can teach yourself. Like, look at likes of SEO. I think it was named like the top 5 in-demand skills worldwide a couple of years ago, and it's an industry full of people that is like entirely self-taught.
Do you
Most
think
of
the
the
industry is going to keep growing?
Absolutely. It's obviously an ever-changing industry. But yeah, I think SEO is going to continue to grow. I mean, there's a reason companies spend a load of money on SEO for a lot of websites. It is the number one driving factor of revenue. 100%. But aye, it's a good industry, and anyone can kind of get into SEO and learn it. There's the barrier. I mean, the barriers to entry of SEO are relatively low. Get a domain, £7-8. Fire WordPress on it. Get a cheap host. The barriers of entry to SEO for being actually good at it are quite high. But anyone can get into it, start learning, and I mean, university for me. It didn't do anything for me. Whereas I think you can learn so much just by doing it, and there's so many courses out there. And
yeah, I would agree.
Aye.
For me, I think college was rubbish.
Did you? I remember. Did you know? How did you start at? Was it Boyd Digital you were at?
Yeah, so basically, and again, this goes back to having a project and bringing it to the table. Like, I had no prior experience, but I was, I guess, bold enough to try and build a startup at 18, and then I chapped in Colin's door and asked him for like $5 grand.
Love it.
And then, like, obviously, he gave me the money. I invested in it, and I got another investor too. But yeah, the startup wasn't successful. I learned a shitload from it, and by the end of it, he hired me. So I got a job out of it, and then just went from there. But again,
that's very similar to how I landed when I was doing marketing. I ended up in an internship with one of the companies that we'd done. We'd essentially asked for help. But what was your first first business? Because I don't think I've heard about that. If you don't mind talking about it.
Yeah, no, it was called Venue Guru. So basically, I was a DJ at the time, and no one would give me DJ gigs, so I started like a club night. I'm going to make this the fast version. I ended up booking out loads of clubs. Figured it was quite hard, built a website to book clubs out, and then Colin actually owned the record shop. So I didn't know he had an SEO agency. I just thought he owned the record shop, and then for me, Venue's record shop, just tapped on his door and asked him, and he was into it. So got lucky. But that's if someone came to me with like a really, really good CV, and somebody else came to me with this project that they're trying and working on, like, it's going to attract me a lot more, because it shows they've got drive, they've got intuition, you know what I mean, like initiative.
100%.
Sorry. Anyway, Colin's actually coming on next, so let's wrap this up. But Graham, thank you so much for this podcast. Thanks for coming on, mate. And I think it was a good podcast. I really appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Craig. And I'm looking forward to hearing all the other guests.